Welcome everybody to tonight's special council meeting. This meeting has been called to adopt the budget for the coming year, and it is a special meeting in addition to our normal meeting this month. Can I welcome each of my administrative colleagues, the CEO, our general managers, and a very good evening to all of you who may have joined us on our Facebook live feed. Recent amendments to the Local Government Act enable remote meetings to be held in this way, and this enables council to continue to meet and conduct business safely during the current pandemic restrictions. Consistent with the guidelines provided with the Victorian State Government, we are live streaming tonight's council meeting using a system that complies with the Victorian Government's advice on minimising risk to cybersecurity. We will operate tonight with revised meeting procedures that are consistent with the intent of our local law that governs the way the council meets and conducts its business. These procedures were adopted at our meeting on the 26th of May and are available on Council's website. As administrators, we are all able to see and hear each other, and our community is able to see and hear the meeting. If technical problems are encountered which disrupt the conduct of the meeting, or if any administrator is not able to fully participate, the meeting will be adjourned until the technical issues can be resolved or rescheduled to a future date if it can't be resolved. If the chair drops out, then Administrator Karen Douglas will become the chair. If two or all of our administrators drop out, the meeting will be automatically adjourned or adjourned by the remaining administrator for up to half an hour. And if the problem can't be fixed, the remaining items will be held over until the next ordinary council meeting or another meeting called for that purpose. This evening's meeting, as it has become the case, is being handled by and organised by a Manager of Governance, Property and Risk and our Manager of Business Transformation, and my thanks go to both of them for organising tonight's meeting. I'll move on now to our Acknowledgement of Country. At the commencement of our regular council meetings, we acknowledge that we meet on the Dja Dja Wurrung country. As we are meeting remotely, tonight's meeting participants are located on traditional lands of a number of different Indigenous tribes: the Dja Dja Wurrung, the Wadawurrung, Tanawurrung, Jabberjali, Jabberung, and the Jabberung. That's it. If you are watching from home, you may well be located on other traditional lands. So tonight we acknowledge traditional owners right across the country. We pay our respects to leaders past and present and emerging, recognising that they hold the memories, traditions, cultures and hopes of all Indigenous peoples. Our hope is that we might walk together in harmony and a spirit of healing and cooperation. I'm going to move on now to the opening prayer. Now, I don't have it written in front of me. There's one thing I have forgotten, so if I get it wrong, you will please forgive me. So let's pray. Almighty God, we ask your blessing on this meeting of the Central Goldfields Shire Council. Direct and prosper our deliberations for the advancement of the people of our community. Amen. I think I got that right. Okay, we don't have any apologies this evening, and we don't have any of leave of absence. Does anybody have a conflict of interest they need to declare?
None.
No, there's no conflict that needed to be declared. So we'll move on directly to the our item of business this evening. But before I do that, can I acknowledge that tonight is the final meeting of our Director of Corporate Performance, General Manager of Corporate Performance. I'll get that name right finally, the last meeting. And I acknowledge the work that Paul has done. Paul is leaving us after this next week, and so this will be his final meeting. Paul, I want to formally acknowledge the work that you have done over the last 2 years. You have undertaken a huge amount of work for this community, and as an organisation, we are all the better for your expertise and your commitment to the role for the last couple of years. We wish you well as you move on to perhaps a quieter life, and you don't have to do much else, I don't think, to be quieter than what you've had to deal with here. But thank you from all of us. We really appreciate not just your expertise and the skills that you have brought to the role, but also the way in which you've conducted yourself. Your assistance and support of us as administrators has been exemplary, and I say a heartfelt thank you to you and wish you all the very, very best for the future.
Thanks very much, Noel. Greatly appreciate it.
Okay, so let's move on then to the first item on tonight's agenda, which is the proposed budget, which has been pulled together by Paul And what a way to go, going out with a budget like we've got this evening. It's a great budget, and I feel very, very, very happy that we are allowing Paul to depart with this budget well and truly under our belt. So, Paul, do you want to say any introductory comments to your report this evening?
Thanks, Noel. This is the budget returning to council. Obviously, it was presented at June and we went out for a period of submission and had quite a bit of interest, a lot of questions, and it was great to see the community get really involved and ask a bit more about the detail that sits beneath the budget document itself. Obviously, it is the biggest capital spend we've seen in a long time, and I'm sure that will be greatly appreciated by all the businesses across the region. And this budget is a great opportunity for council to put a lot of our money and money from both state and federal government into the local economy. So I think it's a really great budget and I'm quite proud of it.
Thank you very much. So the report has been presented, as Mr. Brumby has pointed out. There has been out for extensive consultation, and the recommendation in relation to the budget this evening is on page 11. So I'll ask someone to move the recommendation that is on page 11 and then provide the opportunity to speak to the budget. So Mr. Delahunty is moving. Mrs. Douglas, you wish to second?
I will second.
I'm glad you're doing that, otherwise I would have to do that. So yes, so it's been moved and seconded, the recommendation there on page 11. Mr. Delahunty, do you wish to make some comments?
Well, I do, Mr. Chairman. Do you want to read out the recommendation? I think it might be a good idea to do.
Yes, of course, I'm very happy to do that. So the motion that we're dealing with this evening is that council receives and notes the submissions on the 2020-2021 proposed budget, including the strategic resource plan and the proposed rates, fees and charges in accordance with section 223 of the Local Government Act of 1989. Thank you to all those. Secondly, we thank all those people and organisations that made submissions to the 2021 proposed budget, including the strategic resource plan and proposed rates and charges. 3, that we adopt the 2021 budget, including the strategic resource plan, the rates, fees and charges prepared for the 2021 financial year for the purposes of section 126 and 127 of the Local Government Act of 1989. And 4, immediately commence a review of its COVID-19 financial hardship policy with a focus on the expansion of council support measures, including but not limited to those businesses that have been directed to cease trading by the state government as part of its response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Mr. Delahunty.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. And look, as you've said, and I want to also pay my thanks to Mr. Paul Brumby, General Manager of our corporate performance, to him, Lucy and all the team at the council. They've put together another great budget, as been said, the largest capital works budget, which will really put dollars into our community, create a lot of employment, but importantly meet the strategic plans that we've developed in the last 12 months or longer. So this budget is for the 2021 year. It really involves the financial statements of the council, the description and services and initiatives that we propose for the next 12 months, and also how that links into achieving our strategic objectives of our council plan, which was a lot of community input into doing those things. But importantly, highlights some of the major initiatives that we will be doing under the Capital Works program. The proposed budget has been said by Mr. Brumby, went out following our adoption back in June for community consultation. It was importantly developed according to our council plan, which started back in 2017, goes through to 2021, but was refreshed during 2018-19 through a comprehensive community consultation process. The budget includes an increase of 2%, and that is in line with the state government's fair go rates policy. And I think it's a fair way to go in the current climate, but importantly, it will give the opportunity for us to continue the enormous work that this council does in not only providing services, but also infrastructure and supporting those impacted by COVID-19. One concern that I've got, and it comes under our waste management scheme, we developed a waste management strategy, which is still work going on in relation to working with government. But one major concern is The EPA have hit us with a increase in our municipal waste recovery. It'll go up 30% this year, next year, or as from the 1st of January 2021, but also increase a further 23% the following year. We've increased our waste management charges by 6.5%, but that enables us to function and continue to fund the waste charges we're obliged to do for the next 12 months. As we've said before, our capital works program is $15.9 million. It's $7.8 million confirmed. We're waiting on $1.7 million coming from other grants that we've applied for. We're pretty sure we will get. But significant, I mean, in that capital works program is significant roads upgrades jointly funded by Council and Regional Roads Victoria, and also the federal government's Roads to Recovery program. We've also got restoration works for the Maryborough outdoor pool to the tune of $2 million. Construction of the Carisbrook Recreation Reserve is ongoing, and it's a great support for that community, but we greatly thank the state government for their support. It also allows for the expansion of the Central Coalfields Art Gallery. But importantly, I think for all our towns, whether it be Timor, Bialaba, Talbot, Betbert, Dinola, Majorca and Carisbrook, there is township revitalisation money, which includes hall improvements, shade structures, tree plantings and in signage, total of nearly $800,000 across our shire. So there's some new initiatives in our budget, including one that's obviously important for the community, and that is the 2020 council elections, and also a youth strategy and many other programs that we've got programmed for this year. As Mr. Brumby said, we've put this out for community consultation. We received 7 submissions. We spoke, or 3 of those people wanted to speak to us, and we met with them last Tuesday to hear their views. But importantly, these submissions covered various questions in relation to the budget, but importantly, a request for capital works for the Maryborough Senior Citizens Club rooms. We've met with the Senior Cits people, and we'll be able to work with them in developing some way we can support the program to support our senior citizens, particularly in Maryborough. I just want to finish off by saying it has been developed, our budget, particularly supporting our council plan. But importantly, I want to say in finishing, COVID-19 pandemic has caused significant disruption to Victoria, to significant disruption to our shire, and particularly to some of our businesses and some of our people living within our shire. The motion tonight that I'm supporting includes that we need to go further in looking at support measures to support these businesses and maybe supporting these individuals too. So again, congratulations to our staff. It's an arduous task putting together a budget like this, and I strongly support it going forward. Well done to the team. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Mr. Delhunty. Mrs. Douglas, do you wish to make any comments, please?
I would like to make a couple of comments. Thank you. Firstly, I'd encourage people to actually look at the budget itself. It's a very comprehensive document, but it is quite logical. It's not really that difficult to read. So I'd encourage people to definitely look at our budget. The outstanding feature probably, of course, is the grants that we have received. Some still to be confirmed, admittedly. But this is a massive amount of an increase over what we normally would have expected to have included in our budget. There's also, of course, about $3 million carry forward of projects underway and to be carried forward into next year as well. So we're talking about a capital works program of nearly $16 million, which is an enormous amount for our shire. Unfortunately, all of the grants that we've received are really things that we've advocated and lobbied for. So it's really a great achievement. Thank you to the staff for all the lobbying, the advocating. Thanks to our members, both state and federal, who have assisted in that as well. So the other thing, as Administrator Delahunty touched on, is the waste management. And I think that's going to be one of those difficult areas for councils to actually work their way through. The levy, of course, has gone up, and all of the waste charges that have been increased in our budget, of course, but it does ensure that the full cost of the whole waste management for the council continues to be fully funded by the waste charges. It does not come out of any other area of our finances. So I am disappointed about the increase in the waste management, and it's really a moving topic at the moment for all local government areas. So, but this is a very exciting budget that we're dealing with here. There is a lot of jobs involved on the delivery against this. It's going to be a very interesting year with a new council, a budget like this to work with, and in a time when we are desperate to have more employment right across the Shire. So I'm very pleased to support this motion.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Look, I will just make a couple of comments before we put it to the vote. I'm not going to go over some of the ground that's already gone over, and I thank both Mr. Delahunty and Mrs. Douglas for their comments, and I think they've explained the budget and the context of the budget extraordinarily well. So I thank you for that. But I do want to encourage people to have a look at the budget. Now, you don't need to go through all the detail because there's pages and pages of numbers, which some people get very excited about. But really, if you just look at the first few pages, which actually summarises very clearly what's in the budget this year, and you don't need to go through all the numbers to find that. If you wish to, of course, you can do that. But I encourage you, if you're watching this evening, go to Council's website, have a look at the first 3 or 4 pages, because that gives you a magnificent summary of what is actually contained in the budget this year and some of the new initiatives that have been spoken about already this evening. I am extraordinarily proud that as we leave this place later this year, we are handing on to the incoming council an organisation that is in a very, very sound financial position. This is a budget I think everybody can be proud of. It has some extraordinary positive initiatives for the community, some of the things the community has been wanting and wishing for a long time. This year, we're able to deliver on so many of those, acknowledging, of course, the contribution of both state and federal government in enabling us to deliver on those desired outcomes for the community. But I'd say I think I've been, I don't know, this is about the 20th budget, possibly more, that I've been involved in local government. But I think this is the one that actually gives me the most pleasure. And I mean that genuinely. This is a really terrific budget, and the community is going to be in a very, very strong position going forward. And I say, in saying that, I say thank you to Paul particularly. I know you've carried the burden in terms of pulling this budget together because of the difficulty we have in staffing and so on. So Paul, thank you. But Lucy, of course, you head up the team, and to all our general managers who've had a significant role in putting this budget together. On behalf of the 3 of us, I say thank you sincerely. And also on behalf of the community, I say thank you to you all for your dedication in pulling this one together. I do want to finish by actually pointing out probably the most important part of what we're talking about this evening, and this is the context that we are delivering this budget in. Now, we are facing a pandemic which this country has never faced before. It is a very, very unique set of circumstances and has added a level of complexity to this budget that the council has never seen before and will probably never see again. Again, I can underline the extraordinary effort of our team in pulling this budget together with the limited resources that we have available to us. But I think the message to the community is also, and it's a very important point I'm going to read out in just a moment, that we are committed to doing as much as we possibly can to support the business community in particular. We have strengthened the hardship provisions for all of our community, but our business community, we know there are some elements out there that are truly, truly suffering. We hear that, we understand that, and we are committed absolutely to reviewing our hardship provisions to find any way that we can to support our businesses going forward in this very, very difficult business environment. The last thing we want is to see some of our business close their doors permanently. That would be an absolute tragedy for everybody. So I assure the community that we are doing all that we possibly can. Our resources are limited, but we are calling on the resources of both state and federal governments who have been very generous in their support of this community. And we are committing tonight, as what we are adopting this evening, to do what we can to do more if we can find that with the support of our budget. As I say, we are in a very strong financial position, so we are in a position to help further, and we are exploring as a matter of some urgency now what we can do to assist our business community further. So with those notes, I'm going to put the motion. I'm not going to read it, it's very long, but I will read point 3. The first point of the motion is that we receive and note the various submissions. And I should say thank you to those people who made those submissions. It's great to have people who are interested enough to sit down and to trawl through the budget. And we do really appreciate those people who did. The second part of the motion is to thank all those organisations that made those submissions. We're adopting the budget and the strategic resource plan, the rates and fees and charges contained within it. But most importantly is item 4, and I'm going to read it word for word, that we immediately commence a review of our COVID-19 financial hardship policy with a focus on the expansion of council support measures, including but not limited to those businesses that have been directed to cease trading by the state government as part of its response to the COVID-19 pandemic. So that's the motion we're dealing with this evening. So I'm now going to put that to the vote. Those in favour say aye.
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 Against, that's carried. Thank you for that. So we'll now move on to the next item on our agenda, which is our annual action plan. People who normally pay attention to and visit and watch council, 10 council meetings, will know that quarterly we receive reports on our action plan. The action plan spells out the actions that we are undertaking and committing as a council for the next 12 months. They are funded in the budget, and these are the actions that we are committing to for the coming year based on our council plan, which Mr. Delahunty referred to earlier, but also the items that we are committing to are picked up within the budget that we have just adopted. Now, Mr. Brumby or our CEO, did you wish to make any comments around our action plan?
I'll make a few, thank you, Chair. Yeah. I just wanted to point out that in the action plan, obviously it includes all the projects that we were just mentioning before that are in the budget, but there are also a range of other initiatives that are undertaken by staff that are not additional funded projects, but come out of just the day-to-day operations from the staff. And I also wanted to point out that in the governance area, there is a range of activities that need to be undertaken as part of the upcoming elections, getting ready for a new council, the adoption of various policies and plans that need to be undertaken over the next 12 months with a new council coming on board. So that's a very important part also of this annual plan that you'll see at the end of the document that we're currently working on and working very hard on at the moment to ensure that we're ready for a new council.
Thank you very much. Mr. Brumby, did you wish to say anything on this one?
Oh, thanks, Mr. Chair. No, I think Lucy summed it up pretty well. At the macro level, the council is elected for 4 years. That's the council plan. Each year we have a budget. And this is really the accountability mechanism for all the staff to actually go about delivering all the items that are in the budget that we're about tonight. So from a governance and transparency point of view, this is a really critical tool to ensure that what we're planning to deliver for the community across the next 12 months actually is done, and our commitment to the community is to report on that each quarter.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Now, the recommendation is on page 14 of the papers this evening. Would you like to move the recommendation there?
I would love to move this. I'd love to move that council adopt the attached 2020-2021 action plan, and 2, receive quarterly reports on the progress made against the 2020-2021 annual action plan.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded, Mr. Delahunty.
I'm very happy to second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Mrs. Douglas, you want to make any comments on this one?
I'd love to make just a couple of brief comments. I'm glad that Mr. Brumby said this is such a pivotal plan, and it is. We have a 4-year council plan. It's not mandated that we do have an annual action plan, although I think it has now become best practice. And for me, this is the plan that ties loads of other things together. A lot of the strategies that we've been working on, a lot of our community consultations, all of that work really is what is the background and informs then what we put into the action plan. And it's really such an inclusive plan right across the whole organisation and the community. So I think this is a particularly important plan. I get very excited about the action plan every time we get a report about it. It gives councillors a great overview of where everything is at in where we are going with these things. Gives us an opportunity to actually ask whether or not they could hurry a few things along at times. But it's a practical functioning plan, and I just think it just sits beside the budget. It informs the budget. The budget then also informs back to the council plan, the action plan. So the two documents, very important for a local government of today's, and particularly in the climate that we're all struggling to deal with. So I'm very happy to move that we support the action plan. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Delahunty.
Just a couple of quick comments, Mr. Chairman. Look, a significant amount of community engagement was done to complete what is known as our council plan. And that was being developed and further developed in the last 12 months. But underneath that council plan, there's a lot of strategies. And I have to say, since we've been involved with the council, we've put together a lot of work with our staff and the community to develop a lot of strategies for the future. This is bringing all that together under what we call the annual action plan. There's 83 actions in there. They're all dated when they are to start. They're all dated when they're expected to be completed. They're also highlights who the responsible person is within council. So from a point of view of transparency, it really puts a lot of weight on the staff of our council, but importantly on the council in general. But some of those strategies I just want to highlight. One of them was a waste management strategy. There's a lot of work gone into that. Population, housing and residential strategy. The draft recreation and open space strategy, which we're not far away from completing. But importantly, there was 8 community township plans developed. All of those lead into, and there's many others, but importantly, I have to say, this is what's been missing from our council when we arrived. I'm pleased to say, as we not far from walking out the door, we've got a lot of strategy documents. We've got, importantly, action plans as we're implementing here tonight. It is one that I'm very happy to support. It improves on transparency within council. So I'm very happy to support this motion moved by Administrator Douglas. Well done.
Thank you very much for that. I will just simply close by pointing out that this is I guess the key document by which the community can hold the council accountable. We are clearly stating here, this is what the council will be doing for you, our community, in the next 12 months. And if we don't deliver, then the community has every right to ask why not. So that's our commitment. And this, I guess, is a really clear articulation of the commitment that we have made. If you read through the plan, there is a power of work ahead for the next 12 months, but I'm absolutely confident we have the people and the resources to deliver on this one. There are 3 key documents the council uses for its planning. Of course, the council plan is one of those. Our budget, there's 4 key documents, I should say: a council plan, our budget, we have our annual action plan, but we also have our strategic resource plan, which we will be adopting at our meeting later on this month, which looks at the longer term about how we can maintain the financial sustainability of the council. So this is one of the third of 4 very, very important documents that we will be leaving behind for an incoming council. So again, I again congratulate the team. It's a tiring plan, and under the current environment, you sort of wonder how we're going to go delivering, but that's certainly not going to be an excuse, and I know you won't use that as an excuse for not being able to deliver, because we will deliver on this plan. So I commend it to you. So the motion is the council adopt the attached 2020-2021 annual action plan. and to receive the quarterly reports on the progress made against the 2020-2021 annual action plan. I'm going to put it to the vote. Those in favour say aye.
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 Against say no. The motion is clearly carried, and I thank you for that. So the next item on our agenda is urgent business, and we have none. So that brings us to the conclusion of our meeting. Can I thank all of you who have joined us via our live stream, and this meeting will be available on Council's website in a recorded form for those people who are not able to join us this evening. So I thank you all for your attendance. I'll declare the meeting closed right on 6:30 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you.